Hey guys, and welcome to the weekly Wrangle, episode number 1. This whole live stream is all about finding topics that help improve your professional life as a 3D artist. And I was thinking about it. It was like, if you think about success as, things that go beyond tutorials, it has a lot to do with understanding yourself, understanding the work environment, keeping up to date with the latest industry and software events, understanding and appreciating the work that other people do, and just a lot of things that you don't always get from a tutorial. So the overall structure of this live stream is that I'll spend the first portion presenting some sort of topic, whether it's the latest news of something or just a topic that I was thinking about this past week that can help enrich your professional life outside the tutorial space. And then after that, I'll also open it up to general Q&A. So if you have any general questions about things, I'm not going to go into like specific scene file questions, but just a general Q&A to hang out and talk about interesting stuff that gets opened up towards the very end. Okay, so for today's topic, I want to talk about defining yourself as an artist and how to understand your style. So if we think about artists that we like, most of the artists that understand themselves, they are usually more interesting and successful than those who are defined by other people or other influences. And so to understand your style, a lot of that has to do with understanding yourself. So I want to, first of all, provide a few examples of some artists that I really like. And then let's talk about how they might approach their work or how they might approach their style. So I'm going to share a screen real quick with you guys. And the first artist I'd like to highlight right here is Rick Oostenbrück. Hopefully I got his last name right there. But Rick is an amazing graphic designer from the Netherlands. And a lot of his stuff here is Cinema 4D, it's Illustrator, it's Photoshop. It's really, really cool stuff. And one thing that you'll notice about Rick and his work is that whenever you see any of his pieces of art, you can immediately tell that that's Rick. You can immediately see that he's an artist who understands himself and stays within his preferences and stays true to the styles that he likes. And so one of the first points I really want to bring up is this whole idea that if you're an artist who follows the styles that you like, then you're also going to be an artist that stays true to yourself. And I could really see that with Rick. And, here's the other thing too. Imagine he can do things beyond these abstract shapes and forms. Imagine he probably could go to Unreal Engine and, make himself some hyper-realistic, forests in a game engine or something like that. I'm sure he has the ability to do so. But the fact that he doesn't, and the fact that he stays within his style, I think is not really a limiting factor. It actually really empowers him. It carves out the niche so that, again, when people see his work, they say, yeah, that's totally Rick right there. And so the takeaway number 1 that I want to give you guys is to follow your preferences. If you're somebody who follows your preferences, you're somebody who's staying true to who you are. And so I just want to point that out with Rick. Another example of this would be Carlos Ortega Elizalde. Hopefully I said his name right as well. from Mexico. And very different style. He has, a lot of character-based stuff. If you take a look at his turquoise here, this is one of his latest works. It's just gorgeous stuff. And, with Carlos especially, I always have loved the motion that he gives with the silhouettes and forms of his models. But again, going back to Carlos understanding himself as an artist, I think if he tried to go for some super gritty, dark, Diablo kind of stuff, I don't think that would be as interesting. I don't think you would see that and you would think, oh yeah, that's totally Carlo. Now, if he did his own Carlo version of something that's from Diablo, then I think that might be interesting. But I just wanted to point out he's another one of those artists that I truly enjoy, who again stays within a certain area. Um, and this also brings me to this whole idea of if you are an artist who stays within your zone with what you present to people, that again is a strong thing for you because you're carving out your niche, right? But when it comes to your practice and the things that you do for practice, that could be separate, or you really ought to think of that separately as the things that you present to everyone else. Um, so anyway, he's another guy, Jason Schreier from Netflix. He's a production designer, totally different style, very landscape oriented. It doesn't just have to be characters or graphic design. You could pick any sort of genre that appeals to you. And again, if you follow your preferences, if you follow the things that you like and don't like, then I really believe that you begin starting to find your style that way. Another guy here is Jonathan Fletcher, and he's a senior character concept artist from Blizzard. What I like about Jonathan in this example is that, well, he has this hyper realistic style going on, right? We have, Morbruff, who's this like little demon head sculpt thing. It's super dark, hyper realistic, super cool. But then we also go over here to his stylized stuff right here, this gray mane. And what I found interesting is that even if we compare, let's say, gray mane right here to one of his hyper realistic sculpts, you can still tell that Jonathan made the same two pieces of art. And that's because a lot of those micro decisions that happen as you're making your art will find its way into your stylized stuff, and it'll almost like bridge the gap between your hyperreal and your stylized. So I thought that was kind of interesting as well. Even though we have two completely different styles going on, you can still tell it's Jonathan. And the reason why is because he's somebody who, again, follows his preferences. He follows his gut instinct, and that transfers over to all the different things he does. Lastly, we have Hal. And a totally different style, creature artist who makes, really cool stylized stuff. What I wanted to point out here with Hal, though, is that even though we have this sort of Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks genre, or maybe a kid's cartoon genre going on, right? There is still plenty of room to bounce off of that and create variety off of what's already been done. And so if we look at, let's say, this little guy right here, this Orcadian white bat, he's pretty sweet. This is something that is just different enough to be something that I've never really seen before, even though it's somewhat similar to that stylized 3D cartoon style, right? And so one of the other takeaways that I also want to give you guys here is don't become your influences. Instead, bounce off of them. If you think of, let's say, your influences as a springboard, in other words, something that you jump off of, that's a much better way to create something new and innovative as opposed to trying to, let's say, copy the things that you like or what's already been done. Hal could have gone ahead and just copied the Disney or the Pixar style. But, and I don't know if this is what he did in this particular example, but you can imagine if he picked his springboard, which might be Pixar, and he bounced off of that in some way, maybe tweaked something here and there, that is how you begin finding a more innovative style based off of what you like. So again, find that springboard. I also want to point out, back to Rick's work right here, that if we take a look at some of these forms, and try to find a good one here, especially something like this, right? Where we have these super nice curvy colors going on. It's not too far-fetched to say that perhaps Rick bounced this idea off of what he might have naturally seen in, let's say, a photograph of Antelope Canyon. And so you can imagine it. I don't know if that's what he did or not. Probably not. But my point here is that if we find things that we like, that influence us, doesn't even have to be in the world of 3D. and again, we bounce that, we use this as our springboard, that's going to be a fantastic way of being able to carve out your style and niche as an artist. And it's a really, really effective way of doing that. So the last takeaway that I want to give you guys here is to have an opinion. The more you understand yourself, the easier it is to say no. And so what I mean by this is that to be focused, you have to have a preference. You have to look at your influences and you have to say, well, okay, I know I like this about my influences, but there might be something that slightly bothers you. The more you look into something, any piece of art, anything that you like, the more you critically look at it, the more you start finding things you don't like. And that's good because when you find those things, you're finding things to say no to. You're finding ways to be different than your influences. And so to be focused, to be centered as an artist, it's not just about understanding what you like, it's about understanding what you don't like. And the more specific you can be about that, the more specific you can present yourself in your artwork. And so, again, learn how to say no to the things that you like. Learn how to also say yes to the things that you absolutely do like. The more opinionated you can be, the more specific you are to your preferences, and the more likely you are to land on a style that is uniquely you. And I think, again, if you follow your preferences and you understand those yeses and nos, you're going to be more specifically you, and that's going to show up in your artwork. So, anyway, that is my live presentation for today. I also want to open it up to Q&A if you guys have any. Every week, I'll be doing this live Q&A session, trying to present something, again, that enriches your professional life. And so anyway, yeah, that's the gist of it. Also, I want to thank you all for the good wishes. I was sick for a few months with a gnarly stomach ulcer, and fortunately, I'm back. I can think straight again, and be giving you guys some great tutorials for the future. So, let's see. What is the name of this program? By Hamdi Ben Sherif. This is Restream. I'm streaming off of Restream.io. That's the streaming platform that I'm doing. Let's see. This is from Janice Kudars. Hopefully I said that right. Hey man, what topics will you be covering in the coming weeks? I don't know yet. Truth be told. I'll probably just be winging it every week. If I find it's not always going to be these philosophical conversations, although sometimes I think it is nice. Sometimes it'll just be news. It'll be like, hey, Unreal just released this week. Again, staying up to date with the latest things in the industry. So it's going to be a mixed bag. Really, whatever I want to talk about, I just make it up as I go. As far as topics for CG Forge goes, though, right now I just got done redoing Houdini for the new artist. And so I wanted to improve that intro experience for everybody. And so that's going to be releasing on Monday. So if you have somebody who's just starting Houdini for the first time, or perhaps you're new to Houdini and you want to be set off in the right direction, that is releasing Monday. And in the future as well, I'll be releasing more on lighting techniques. I'll probably focus on, again, redoing that beginning curriculum for a little bit. And then after that, looking to probably do some more procedural modeling, finish out the Pyro series, and go from there. Okay. Well, I think that might be it. If you guys have any other questions, go ahead and, type that in right now. But I want to keep this short and sweet and let you guys get on with the Friday. because Fridays are great. Speaking of Friday, if you guys have a different day that you might think works better for you, I'm not sold on the Friday mornings quite yet. So I might move this to Sunday or maybe a Monday afternoon, something like that. But if you guys have a preference on these live streams once a week, and when that happens, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys later. So, I think that does it for right now. That's episode number 1 of the Weekly Wrangle. So, thanks guys for tuning in. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next time.